Hello, brave souls. Welcome back to Mr. Legendary, the place where fear has a voice. Tonight, I'll tell you 3 terrifying stories. But be warned, once you hear them, you might never sleep the same again. So, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Our first story is called Room 313. Emma was a solo traveler, the kind who preferred winding roads and forgotten towns over crowded cities. One night, a storm rolled in, fierce and unrelenting, forcing her to pull off the mountain road. Headlights barely piercing the sheets of rain, she spotted an old hotel, its neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. Inside, the lobby was dim and heavy with dust. The front desk clerk, a gaunt man with tired eyes, slid a key across the counter. "Room 312, he said, his voice barely more than a whisper. Then as Emma turned to leave, he leaned forward, eyes wide and urgent. "And please, never go near room 314. Emma nodded, though curiosity already tugged at her. The hallway stretched before her, lined with faded wallpaper and creaking floorboards. She found room 312, unlocked the door, and settled in. The storm raged outside, wind howling like a wounded animal. As midnight crept in, Emma heard whispering, soft, persistent, coming from the wall behind her bed. At first, she thought it was the wind, but the words grew clearer, though she couldn't quite make them out. She pressed her ear to the wall. The voices seemed to beckon her, pleading, warning, inviting. Unable to resist, she stepped into the hallway. It was empty, silent except for the storm. Her eyes landed on a door at the end. Room 313. The numbers were scratched, faded, almost erased, as if someone had tried to forget it ever existed. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, but curiosity won. She reached out and turned the handle. The door creaked open. Inside, the room was cold and dark. A single dusty mirror hung on the wall, and beneath it, a suitcase. Her suitcase. The same one she had left in her car, now impossibly here, with her name tag dangling from the handle. Emma approached the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, smiling. But as Emma raised her hand, her reflection did not. It just smiled, wider and wider, eyes unblinking, mouth stretching too far. Emma stumbled back, heart racing, and the door slammed shut behind her. She screamed, pounding on the wood, but the whispers grew louder, swirling around her, filling her ears. The next morning, the storm had passed. The hotel lobby was empty. Emma was gone. The clerk shook his head when asked. There was no record of Emma ever checking in. And when someone went to look for room 313, they found only a blank wall, as if the door had never existed. But sometimes, late at night, guests swear they hear whispering coming from behind that wall. And if you look closely, you might see a faint outline of a door, waiting for someone curious enough to open it. Our second story is the 333 bell. Liam, Zoe, and Kevin were thrill seekers, always searching for the next haunted place to explore. One autumn night, they heard about a house on the edge of town. A house where, according to legend, a bell rings by itself at exactly 3:33 a.m. The rule was simple. If you hear the bell, don't open the door. They laughed off the warning, convinced it was just another ghost story. So, armed with flashlights and bravado, they settled in for the night, telling jokes and daring each other to stay awake. Time crawled by. The house was silent, save for the ticking of an ancient grandfather clock. At 3:33 a.m., just as their eyelids began to droop, a sudden sound shattered the silence. Ding-dong. The bell echoed through the house, chilling and clear. The friends froze, eyes wide. Kevin, ever the skeptic, shrugged off his fear and strode to the front door. He opened it. Nobody was there. The porch was empty, the street deserted. But as Kevin turned back inside, he realized something was wrong. The house was silent. Too silent. Liam and Zoe were gone. Panic rising, Kevin searched every room, calling their names. No answer. Desperate, he checked the hallway camera they'd set up for their ghost hunt. The footage showed him opening the door, peering into the darkness. Then, as he stepped back, a tall, faceless shadow slipped in behind him. The shadow lingered, looming over him, before the screen flickered to static. Kevin was never seen again. The house stands empty, but the camera remains, its red light blinking in the darkness, still recording. And sometimes, if you walk by at just the right moment, you'll hear a bell ring from inside, ding dong, waiting for someone else to answer the door. Our third story is under the bed. Danny was 7 years old when he first told his mother, "Something lives under my bed." She smiled, ruffled his hair, and assured him monsters weren't real. To prove it, she knelt down and looked under the bed. Nothing but dust bunnies and forgotten toys. But that night, Danny screamed. His mother rushed in to find him curled in the corner, sobbing, eyes wide with terror. She ran to comfort him, but stopped cold. Someone was lying in his bed, another Danny. This one sat up, eyes wide, voice trembling. "I'm the real one. Don't believe him," he cried, pointing at the boy in the corner. The Danny in the corner shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "No, Mom, it's me. He's not me," he sobbed. One Danny cried, his face twisted in terror. The other stared, cold and silent, eyes dark and empty. The mother stood frozen, heart pounding, torn between her two sons. She had to choose. She reached out to the Danny in the corner, wrapping her arms around him. The other Danny, the one in the bed, smiled, but his eyes turned black as night. He dissolved into smoke, vanishing beneath the bed. From that night on, the shadows under Danny's bed seemed to breathe, growing darker and deeper with each passing night. Sometimes, when the house was quiet, his mother would hear a whisper from beneath the mattress. Wrong choice. Now Danny sleeps with the light on, and his mother checks under the bed every night. But the shadows only grow, waiting for another chance. So, which story haunted you the most? Was it the mysterious room 313, where curiosity became a trap? The 333 bell, where a single mistake erased 3 friends from the world? Or was it the terror beneath the bed, where a mother's choice changed everything? Comment below if you still have the nerve. And if your heart's still beating, prove you're a true legend. Hit that like, subscribe, and share this with someone who thinks horror stories are just fun. Because here at Mr. Legendary, the next nightmare is already watching you. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that could happen to you. So until next time, sleep tight, if you can.